Welcome to Culture Class podcast where we get to interact with different people and get to learn about other cultures. My name is Iyare, and welcome to another episode. And as you guys should know by now, I've been screaming people of culture, people of culture, people of culture from the rooftops. And I might just post POC related content all through February, or at least till we hold the event on the 27th. So bear with me. Today on the podcast, I have my brother on the show. For longtime listeners, you'll remember he cameoed in an old episode we did in Las Vegas. I want to say that was like a year or a year and a half ago. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, Afe.
Hey, no, sir, thanks for having me. I feel like this is more like a brotherly discussion.
Right. No, keep it a little official in case mom is listening or something. Let's make it. we can come on for the banter later, but let's make it about POC, shall we?
Right, for sure, no problem.
Yeah. So how far are you now? How's Chicago going? How's Chicago? How does snow for that side?
So this is let me just register the year. This is February 10th? Yeah, February 11th. I apologize, 2021, and it has been snowing consistently. I've not seen this much snow since I started living in Chicago about roughly 5 years ago. I've not seen snowfall this consistently, day in, day out, night after night, and the whole roads are just messed up. Everywhere is bad. It's very cold, and it's just not I went to the gym today to work out a little bit, which is not too far from my house. I just kept on sliding. And sliding. And I was trying to be, I didn't want to wear my Timberland boots. I have to go to the gym and switch to sneakers. So I was like, I'm just going to wear my sneakers and, go directly from my house to the gym. And that was a terrible mistake because I was just, sliding. I was doing electric slide on on the streets.
Slide.
Hopefully she get better.
Right. But dude, why are you code switching on me now? How far are you now? This is your Americana voice. Like, we want to talk about POC in a bit, but still.
Yeah. Well, I'm also still trying to appeal to, besides, I'm trying to appeal to my African American audience and my, audience that I'm like my small little micro community that I'm trying to reach out to as well. So they understand me this way if I speak this way.
I'm not sure. When I check my analytics, I'm not sure how many African Americans listen to the podcast. Like a bunch, but it's mostly like I think India is my largest audience, which is strange. Like since September, October last year, India has been the place where I get the most listenership. Done a couple of episodes about India with Indians, but I don't know why. But I'll take it.
That's pretty interesting. I was going to say something, but I don't want to say something that might come off as offensive or racist. So I'm just going to reserve that comment.
Good idea.
But I don't know why you're getting a lot of listeners. Yeah, listeners in India, but that's good though. You should definitely explore that market.
I think I've had 4 or 5 guests from India now. So I would say maybe when, I've been on the Indian hashtags promoting those episodes. The podcast is also on Ghana. Ghana is one of the most popular podcast listening apps in India. Most of the podcasts on there are Hindi, but I guess, my podcast and a bunch of other podcasts like English-speaking podcasts on Ghana. So maybe those are the few reasons why, but who knows, Anyway, let's talk about POC. Right. So people of culture,
let's get started. Let's get to it.
Right. Obviously, I was there from day one, when you were thinking about this whole concept, 4 or 5 years ago, we had a renaissance of, cultural awareness or a bunch of stuff. But I'll allow you to tell the story. Let's start with how you conceptualize the idea for people of culture. How did that come about? What frame of mind and what time in history was this? And why did you settle on the name people of culture?
Right. So definitely, I don't know how far back you want to go, but I think I'll take it back to I'll start from where it really started to matter to me, why we needed something to celebrate of our own, because I really channel and communicate our identity and not let others tell our stories. What I realized was when I came for my master's, and I came to Chicago for my master's. I went to Roosevelt University. It was the same university that Harold Washington, the first Black mayor, graduated from. And so when I went there and, just interacting with people from obviously, how it is in a master's program, you have people from different cultures. You have Indians, you have Asians, you have African Americans, you have, whites, you have different people from all walks of life and races and all that and cultural background. So, I obviously made from friends, from India, made some white friends. I was, pretty much very social in my cohorts and everything and, just discussing with people. Coming to find out that they were not as and not just them, even like the professors, because they would always ask, so where are you from? When we're doing a formal introduction of each other in class and things like that. Some professors would ask you what your background was, where you're from, and stuff like that. So I came to find out that a lot of people did not even know that Nigeria was a country. They didn't even know that. And to me, for a kid, for you and I, who we grew up in Nigeria for a bit, growing up there and realizing that, we think that's everything. We think, Nigeria, the world is maybe revolves around Nigeria because we're used to seeing things happen in Nigeria. We think, besides movies and other, forms of communication that we're exposed to, kind of like thought like, oh, Nigeria is this one bubble and things just revolve around the world. We are not really necessarily seeing things outside of Nigeria at the time. So coming here and asking people, oh, what do you know about the country? Some people didn't even know it was a country. Some people say, okay, I know about Nigeria, but how is it about, you get the regular African stereotypes like, oh, have you ever seen a lion before? Have you ever seen a tiger? Or, that
Wait,
type
when
of,
did you go to school? Was this in the 50s or something?
No, this is like 2020. I started my master's program in fall of 2014. This was 2014, 2015, not that long ago, when I was getting my master's. And I was so surprised. And, I always got the, backhanded, I think they call it backhanded compliments, where someone is saying something to you, but if you really look at it, it's like an insult where they're like, oh, your English is so fluent. How do you speak? How come you speak English so good? I'm like, do you know I have an undergrad degree from Nigeria and I'm learned and I read books and it's just general stuff. And they were surprised that, oh, someone from Nigeria could be speaking this fluent. And like, first of all, English is our official language in Nigeria. And, they weren't aware. And they were like, oh, even if English is your official language, they didn't expect that because their orientation of Africa is maybe seeing people from villages who had like limited education and they don't necessarily have those, go to school and get those. So they've never maybe interacted or seen people from like the city part of, this countries, from developing countries like Nigeria. They've never seen people with degrees or interacted or communicated with them. The only interface they've had with the continent is when they are maybe watching National Geographic and they're showing a park from South Africa, like, well, maybe Kenya, Maasai Park or something, and they're like, oh, pretty much this is how Africa is, So not to cut a long story short, my goal was, wow, it seems like the media really did a terrible job, not maybe unconsciously, but I feel like Western media has done a terrible job of showing how great Africa is, not just Nigeria, but just Africa as a whole. Because, yes, we do have villages, we do have huts, just like, and I always tell people, it's like, I mean, in the US here as well, the analogy I always like to tell people or share with people is, imagine if I am a Nigerian, right? And being in Nigeria, I didn't get to watch all the dope action movies that America produced, that Hollywood produced. Imagine if I never saw any dope action movie, no cartoons, nothing. And the only thing I saw about America was country hillbillies, and people, from like countryside hillbillies, people with like very informal education and maybe one or two trades here and there. And it was just countries and fields. And if that was consistently what I saw about America, I never saw clips of Manhattan. I never saw clips of the Empire State Building. I never saw clips of like, Niagara Falls, just different, like the Philadelphia stairs, the whole Rocky movie. If I never watched all that, I might also have a very myopic view about America. So it's kind of like the same thing. So unfortunately for us, not just Nigeria, but Africa in general, that's how it is. A lot of people have only seen the villages. They've only seen the starving children. They've only seen like, not-for-profit organizations and humanitarian work done in Africa. They've only seen parks, lions, tigers, through Nat Geo and Discovery Channel. Those are the types of images and, visuals that they've kind of like digested from, watching TV about the continent. So unfortunately, they don't know anything else. They don't know that, you have thriving businesses, you have banks, you have a structure, you have people who work 9 to 5, you have people who are entrepreneurs in Nigeria, you have people who are starting up companies and like actually even getting funding from American government, and they're really building an economic, ecosystem. They don't know all these things. So I was like, okay, what's the best way to educate people and try and rewrite that narrative that a lot of my colleagues who I went to school with, and not just them, but even expanding it beyond that, just people across America, what's the best way to kind of like re-educate people on what Nigeria is so we can draw more investments, draw more awareness, and like kind of like start, re-educating people about what Africa is and, what the true image of Africa is. And I felt like the best way to go about this is to, obviously we started People of Culture. And as far as the name, it was a name that you and I had deliberated on a little bit. I recall that one night you and I had talked about, okay, what's the best name that can really sell what we are trying to communicate? And we deliberated on a few names, and People of Culture was just one of those names that kind of like stuck. So that was kind of like the whole reason of me starting the event. And we had our first event in 2018, and now we're having our second event in 2021. We had a 2-year gap. We wanted to do it in 2020, but obviously the pandemic hit and we weren't prepared. No one was prepared. So we had to pivot and say, okay, let's make it a live stream event in 2021. But we'll get more into that, and I'll just give you a chance to speak to other stuff too as well.
Right, right. So People of Culture was birthed out of your own experiences and what you went through, people not understanding, other things that Africa had to offer besides what they saw in traditional media or the perception they had about Africa. But what is People of Culture exactly? Because the name is a little bit, for people who don't know, is a little bit ambiguous. Like, is it an app? Is it a festival? Is it a musical album? Like, what is People of Culture and what is your vision for People of Culture? I know we're having the event later in the month, but just explaining the concept of People of Culture as a body. What is it?
Right. So People of Culture is a melting pot of not just ideas, but a melting pot of people from diverse cultural backgrounds. That's the best way to kind of analyze it or explain it. And what I mean by that is we want to tell African stories. Mind you, emphasis on African stories. So we want to tell stories from Guinea-Bissau. I want to tell stories from Kenya. I want to tell stories from Nigeria. I want to tell stories from Ghana, Cameroon, just different places, because we understand, people need to understand that Africa is not very monolithic. We don't have a monolithic culture, or, it's not just one-sided. People have to understand that it's pretty diverse. In Africa alone, there are some countries, and on the continent, there are some countries that speak Portuguese or have Portuguese as their official language. There's some countries that have French as their official language. There's some countries that have English as their official language. So imagine how diverse, even within Africa alone, how diverse that is already. Then not to talk of the local dialects like Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa in Nigeria, then Afrikaans in South Africa. So it's very diverse and very broad, and people in groups and communities think separately. So it's very, very broad. And, what kind of a business model or a system that works in Kenya cannot be replicated in Nigeria, just because of how integrated culture is in each country and how that can influence things. So the idea was to kind of bring these people together to two reasons. So with the Black Panther movement, the whole movie movement, people are beginning to realize, a lot of African Americans are trying to say, hey, I want to connect back to my root. I want to study. I want to learn about my culture. I just did my ancestry.com test, realized that I'm 60% Cameroonian, but I've never traveled there before. Obviously, I don't know anybody there. I don't have any family there. How can I connect? And so People of Culture is that forum or that platform that can answer some of those questions for, people even outside who are not directly, I don't want to say not directly linked, because they are directly linked, but who are not necessarily aware or exposed to their heritage or their ancestral lineage. They can kind of get a sense of it and learn from it through, music, fashion, entertainment, and other things we did. I didn't want to make it a People of Culture like a seminar where you can just go and we have a workshop and we start educating you. Have a professor that teaches you. I feel like that might be too boring. What's the best way to communicate to people? Entertainment, music, movies. That's the best way to teach. So I felt like we needed to do something similar to that. We needed to have music. There's some people who have never listened to house music before in their life. People are just now catching on to Afrobeat, which is a good thing. So we can amplify that through the People of Culture, our People of Culture events. People have never listened to different music styles from different parts of Africa. We have a lot of Africans here in the diaspora, Ethiopians, Nigerians, who each year we want to get on our platform to perform, and we want to communicate their stories on our social channels so that people can say, oh, wow, this music sounds really, really great. Where does it originate from? And they can do the research and say, oh, this is actually South African sound. I love this. And that way you're kind of fostering, not just educating people about what you do or about what, Africa is, but you're also creating a platform for collaborations between Africans, and also a platform between other people of the world, African Americans who are looking to partner with, we've seen the whole Drake and Wizkid collaboration. Obviously, that happened because Afrobeat started to gain, momentum and gain steam. Before, no African American artist was really looking to collaborate with Africans in the past. The only people who did, to the best of my knowledge, was Wyclef and Akon. Those were the two people that really connected early. And if you look at it, they already have deep roots in Wyclef is obviously from Haiti, and Akon is from Senegal. So they already had like deep connections already to the motherland. So it was easy for them to look at artists in the African context. Okay, I can work with you guys because they kind of like connected more. But other African American artists or white artists, they weren't necessarily working with African artists at the time. But now those things are changing, with Burna Boy collaborating with Coldplay, and collaborating with like Sire, and things like that. We're having more of those. So People of Culture is sort of like that platform that will facilitate more partnership, collaboration, and educate people about Africa and what the rich culture that Africa has to offer to the world.
Right, right. And you kind of like answered my next question. I was going to ask you like why an event, but you kind of said, hey, entertainment is kind of like a easier way, or maybe even considered the best way to kind of like communicate some of the ideas and educate people. And maybe I would assume that's why we started this off as an event, because it's easy. People come around, want to have fun, but we can also put some of the medicine in the candy, if you will. But why Africa? Like, you're from Nigeria, right? You're from southern Nigeria. I would know this, obviously, but why not people of southern Nigeria? Why not people of Nigeria? Why not people of West Africa? Why people of culture? Why centering on Africa? Like, what makes you feel like you can create a platform as a Nigeria that can be inclusive to other African countries? That's my first question. And my second question is, who are the people you're trying to target? Because you mentioned different groups, right? You mentioned African Americans who might be, somewhat far removed by no fault of their own from their heritage or ancestry. You mentioned people from other parts of the world, like Caucasians, who might have a wrong perception about Africa. You mentioned Africans ourselves. So, my two questions are, why focus on Africa, and who's your audience to want to bring into this community, or to want to attend this event and to want to be part of People of Culture?
Those are two great questions. I'll start with the first one. So the reason why it's, concentrating on Africa as a whole, and not just where I come from, or one subset of like Nigeria, or just Nigeria, and like just looking at Africa as a whole, as a continent, is because it's bigger than us. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than all of us. And the reason I feel like it is important to tell the story is because I understand how diverse the continent is, and the different countries in there, and it's just pretty much a way to like sell Africa. If Kenya gets a win tomorrow, it's an African win. If Nigeria gets a win tomorrow, it's a Nigerian win. If tomorrow the next billionaire who is gonna come out of Africa is from Rwanda, and he surpasses Elon Musk, for example, and is the richest man in the world, awesome. Like that's a win for Africa, not just a win for Rwanda. It's a win for Rwanda first, but in the global sense of things, is a win for Rwanda. So that's the whole idea. And also we understand that for me, I saw it as an opportunity to really, really unite the continent. So if I do something for just Nigeria, then you're obviously going to be isolating, segregating, people, other perspectives from like Ghana, from like, Ethiopia and the rest of it. Oh, this is just a Nigerian thing. And, you're not really broadening your net and like really thinking like, far ahead. So that was the reason for that, doing that. That's the first question, answering the first question. So for the second question, who is your audience? Pretty much anyone so people typically would think, oh, because the People of Culture event is just for Africans. We're not closing the door to other races. In fact, and I don't really believe in this thing of like, oh, but if you let other races in, that's how they start. They're going to steal your image. They're going to change this. They're going to like, run with this, or like this is how it all started. That's how they're appropriating the African American culture. Now they will do the same thing to I've heard that types of, I've heard those types of, just fears and like and things before. But beyond that, I feel like it's really, really important to open the doors to people who have a genuine, open interest to learn about Africa and African cultures. For example, there are a lot of like, Europeans, Caucasians who are studying African dialects, who are studying like Yoruba, who are studying like, Igbo, and they speak it fluently. So someone like that, for example, case in point, let's say we have a lady who is, Caucasian, her name is Amanda, and she speaks Yoruba fluently. She's traveled to Nigeria. She's traveled to like let's say 17 African countries, and each country she traveled to, she spent like 2 or 3 or 4 months there. She's pretty African. She can tell you a thing or two. She might even know more than myself, who has not traveled to as many countries, but has only lived in Nigeria. She might not be able to tell me much about Nigeria as myself, because I'm a native of, obviously Nigeria. I'm a citizen of Nigeria, but she's gonna know a little. She's gonna have a broader knowledge about Africa as a whole than myself, just because of how well traveled she is, and the people she's interacted with. So someone like that is more than likely to connect with our show and, connect with what we are trying to promote, because she's like, oh yeah, I get it, I understand it. So those are the types of people who want to open our doors to. So that's like, let's say demographic one. It's kind of like, to put it in perspective. Demographic two want to connect with people who are yearning for answers to their roots. And more or less, I'm talking about my African American brothers and sisters. A lot of people have done the ancestry test, and you found out you're from Cameroon. You found out you're from Guinea-Bissau. You found out you're from Cote d'Ivoire. Wherever it is, where do you go from here? How do you start to now unpeel those years and years of slavery and try and understand, get past that, and try and understand and get a sense of who you are, so you can help shape your future. It's one thing. I mean, you can say, I want to travel to Ghana and get started, but how many people are going to commit to that? How many people are going to purchase a ticket? And even when you get there, you might just go for the entertainment side of things, like maybe go visit, tourist attractions, visit like some iconic places in the country you're traveling to. But beyond that, you gotta start from educating yourself about where you're from, the country, its language, its people, and all that. And People Culture provides that platform, and it's here in America. So if you're African American and you're here in America, then obviously it's a platform that you can. It's a step-by-step process. You can start baby step one, coming to watch our events, coming to watch our show. That way, if you're from South Africa or wherever, or Cote d'Ivoire, like I said earlier, then you get to see Cote d'Ivoire. You get to listen to Cote d'Ivoire, Ivorian music. You get to listen to like Ghanaian music. You get to listen to like Nigerian music, and that's the first way to connect. And then you can be like, wow, this music resonates so well with me. Why is that? Oh, I see why, because I'm actually from here. So even though I've never been here or anything, but for some reason I just feel like this resonates well with me, and that's why this is like it's kind of like confirms my conviction that this is home for me, and you start to learn about the culture little by little that way. So that's for like demographic two, people who have maybe done their ancestry contest, African Americans who are saying, I want to connect to home. How do I start? Where do I start from? So that's demographic two. Demographic three, which is kind of like the the last like target audience for us that we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach young creatives, people who are actually directly linked from Africa. So people who are in Nigeria, either Africans in the diaspora, first generation, Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, whatever it is, first generation, or directly linked. Maybe they were even in Nigeria, they came here for schooling, and maybe they just kind of built a life here, that type of thing. Want to reach out to those people because obviously they already know what Africa is about, and now want to provide a networking opportunity where it doesn't have to be so segregated, where Ethiopian communities stay on the north side in Chicago, Nigerian community stay on the north side in Chicago, but somewhere maybe South African community, for example, stays on the south side. It's very segregated. What I've seen in most American cities where Africans are not necessarily coming together, they just create they just live in isolation. Like you have an Ethiopian community living in like a particular zip code and a Nigerian community living in another particular zip code without really integrating. So I'm like, no, that is really, really wrong, because if you're in a foreign land, more than anything, you want to unite and form a formidable force, not because you want to oppress the government of where you're from or anything, but just because you want to also build and create that generational wealth for yourself. Ethiopians are known for having some of the best attorneys and best lawyers. Nigerians are known for having some of the best pharmacists, the best doctors, the best brain surgeons, even, and also people in IT too as well. Nigerians are known for that. These are very educated immigrant groups, in their respective rights. So why do we have to work isolated when we can actually work together and achieve a common goal? So those are the three factions of the demographics that we've been trying to reach and connect.
And it's obvious that you went to school for integrated marketing communication. The way you were breaking it down, demographic one, demographic two, like people just smell like, look, this is what we're trying to, that's it. But obviously a lot of thought was brought a lot of thought was put into this concept over the years, into this event. I think we have a team of 12, 13 people working on this, and we've been working on this since November or something last year, so almost 4 months in the making. So it promises to be pretty interesting stuff later on the 27th. Having said that, let's talk about the event. So let's give the listeners of the podcast some detail, like when's the date for the event? Like, what are we going to expect for the event? What time will it be? Like, should I come prepared with something? Like, is it going to be physical? Is it going to be virtual? Let's break that down for the people.
Obviously, my background is in marketing, so this obviously is music to my ears as far as like selling the event. So yeah, the event is going to be on February 27, and it coincides with the Black History Month. We had, honestly, to be very honest and transparent, we didn't necessarily plan that we're going to do it in February because of Black History Month. It just sort of tied in, and it was good. And the hindsight, I thought about, I was like, wow, this is perfect perfect. It even ties into Black History Month. So that's
The
another reason
ancestors
why.
were speaking.
Hey, I'm telling you, there's another reason to say that. But to your question, the event is set for February 27th, and it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it's a 2-hour event, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you're in Chicago, it's going to be 6 p.m. If you're working on Mountain Time, you're an hour behind and all that, but you can obviously check that out. To register for the event, you can go to pocevents.com. So we have 3 tiers of tickets. We have the free ticket, which just means, hey, you can just sign up, provide your first name, last name, sign up their email, and come watch the show on the day of. Then we have the paid ticket sessions, which is, a little bit more. We are giving out souvenirs like T-shirts and stuff to people who purchase tickets for the second tier, and some other exclusive gifts from 1 or 2 of our sponsors. Then we have the platinum ticket, which is like the tier 3 ticket, where, if you purchase that, some of our sponsors are sponsoring. We have a Van List Lemonade, which is a growing lemonade company that is pretty big in Minnesota and is starting to gain a lot of momentum. And we're partnering with that company, and they will be sending out their lemonade samples and drinks. They'll be sending out like drinks to people who purchase the platinum ticket as a way of obviously partnering and collaborating with us. Then we're also gonna people who purchase the platinum tickets will also stand a chance to win like great items like Google Homes, Amazon, Alexas, stuff like that, and some other like incentives that come. You can go check all that out once you visit pocevents.com. So that's for the day. Then for what's going to be happening on the D-Day, we have a lot of artists. We have about between 8 to 12 performances on the day off, and we have talents like from Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau. We have this lady. Her name is Asetu, and she's really, really good. She's a poet, and man, her poetry is phenomenal. Like, she speaks with such a commanding tone. She has great lyrical dexterity. Her words are just awesome. She's really, really great. And I think you even introduced me to her, and that's how we kind of got her on our list of performers. So we're anticipating her performance is really going to be great. We also have like Ariel Tones. We have Mello, who is from South Africa, a phenomenal singer from South Africa. Mello is going to be slated to perform. We have John Network, who is a hip hop artist from Nigeria, and he's been in and out of the news lately because he sings a lot of conscious music, and obviously he doesn't shy away from attacking the government. So he has a really great story to tell, but he tells all that through his music. So it'd be great to listen to him perform and hopefully also speak to some social issues that's going on in Nigeria that he's just really strong and passionate about. So we have John Network on the bill as well. We have a lot of ton of other artists. Ifeanyi Swift is one of them. We also have a lady called Ray Alyssa, and she's done backup singing for Toni Braxton and Babyface before. So she's definitely really, really talented, and she's a native of Chicago, and she's pretty good. So we have her still to perform. But we have artists from everywhere: Denver, Nigeria, Chicago, obviously, and other parts of the US as well. So it's besides that, we're gonna have like comedy. We're gonna have like keynote speakers too as well, who are gonna open up the show for us and speak to African unity and why we need to unite and things like that, how we need to rebuild Africa and stuff like that. So we're not gonna give out any names yet because we're still working on finalizing our deal with Will, but we're looking to get at least 1 or 2 keynote speakers, and they're pretty big and influential names. So the audience should watch out for that. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if I missed anything, as far as like promoting the event, but definitely would love people to come. It's going to be a live stream event, so it's going to be virtual. So wherever you are in the world, as long as you have great internet, you can tune in and enjoy the show.
Right. I mean, I guess we pretty much covered everything. We have people performing from about 10 countries: Guinea, Sudan, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, a host of other countries. Besides the music, we have poetry, we have comedy. Also, like we said, putting the medicine in the candy. We kind of like have, guest speakers and some special surprises here and there. All inclusive. We want to be as Afrocentric as we possibly can. And let me thank you again for, conceptualizing this idea and riding with it from 2018. But what is in store for people of culture, like in the future? Are we just gonna continue to hold events upon events? Like, do you have a broader vision for the organization, People of Culture, and how do you seek to continue to allow people to tap into African heritage, or people want to learn more about Africa to do so through People of Culture going forward?
Great question. So obviously there are definitely a lot of plans for the future. that we want to think far ahead, but it all ties down to like obviously building Africa. We want educating people about the African continent and obviously rewriting the narrative and just curbing the myopic backward thinking or perception that the Western media has portrayed about Africa. We want to try and curb that. So that's like goal number one. It's not going to be an easy task. It's not going to be a tomorrow task. It's going to be, obviously, it's going to take us a while to obviously, person by person, even if it's just one individual, if you rewrite that narrative and change, just like how African Americans have done successfully well, as much as we still have issues of racism in America, but over time, I've noticed that I'm realizing, especially with the young people, especially we have more millennials being more sensitive and more understanding of, even if they can't completely get the whole picture, they have more understanding and sensitive towards slavery, and they try to shy away from certain things. Inclusivity, especially with companies, amongst people, peers, young people especially, is definitely increased. I'm not saying racism is completely, done in America, but you can see the gradual change compared to like maybe the 60s and stuff when, Martin Luther King walked in Selma and all that. So we're making progress. So I want to like obviously have the same impact in Africa where we can change that whole narrative. People shouldn't just think about Africa and think starving kids and lions and tigers. It's beyond that, and see the good that the continent has to offer. So that's one of the long-term goals. Second long-term goal is obviously to draw investments, economic opportunities, tell people about educate people about economic opportunities, draw investments to the continent, and stuff like that. We really want to showcase the great, the human capital in Africa is just immense. Like, it's really, really great. People don't understand. Like, here in America, it's all good. You have constant power. Someone can go to school, get an education, and learn coding, and work in Silicon Valley, and all that is good and great. But the story is not as sweet as that young boy in that little village who was like, "What if I could do this? What if I could create this? What if I could create like the story about the boy who I can't remember the title of that story on Netflix, the boy who harnessed the wind, I think it was. Like, imagine great stories like that, and that's just one of. There are tons of those type of stories. And I can't tell you how many times, even myself personally, I've witnessed or I've even gone through where we've been in situations where we didn't have constant 24/7 power, and somehow, somewhere, we still managed to make things work. We still, there are still people out there who are grinding like, I want to learn coding, and they have a candle light next to their computer. The battery is almost dead, and they are reducing the brightness of their screen and coding in darkness so they can preserve the battery as they can code for another hour or two, just so that they can master it. They are driven by passion. They're driven by like, the will to change their family tree and to, change the trajectory of their life and just succeed. Like, the hunger is real. And when I mean hunger, I don't mean it physically. I mean like, the drive to succeed is real. So we want to show people that, listen, you have this kind of raw talent and human capital. There's no limit to what they can do. And if you look at the little things you already started, a small man will have a business and hire 4 or 5 when he's managing just a small business. It's challenged with no government is helping him. He doesn't have any government aid. No bank is giving him loans. Yet somehow he still managed to sustain his business for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, pay workers, and even achieve something and feed his family. People don't understand how difficult it is compared to America, where, and I'm not saying America doesn't have its own challenges, but if I want to get a loan, even in America tomorrow, it's easy. If I want to get a loan for my business, it's easy. No one is blocking me. There's constant power. There's internet. There are facilities in place to help me succeed with my business. It's just, all I just need to do is just put in my own effort, which is hard work, little sweat capital here and there, and I can succeed with the business in America. Whereas in Nigeria, you just don't need sweat capital. You're fighting with the government to let them give you the license to, run your business. You're battling with like the crippling power supply in that country to try and succeed. Battling a lot of things. So what we want to try and do is draw more investment. If we have a lot of like, foreign investment pouring into Africa, even if it's just hiring skilled hand labor from the African continent, that could change a story or two, and that could inspire people towards greatness. So some of the long-term goals that we have to kind of like in what we're doing. Let's create that bridge where people from the North American, the UK continent, like, just people from all over can come together and say, wow, okay, this is a great opportunity and we know about this through this. And so let us, let's start seeing how we can explore the opportunities there. Just think about when Drake collaborated with Wizkid, how much exposure and light that provided to Afrobeats. Through that Drake collaboration, there's tons of collaborations that spinned off from that. Just that one feature feature that went global, and people were like, wow, okay, who is this Wizkid guy? Oh, he does Afrobeats. What is Afrobeats? Why does Drake keep talking about Afrobeats in his interview? And they go do their research. Drake fans go do the research, like, oh wow, there are actually a lot of dope music from there, so, and they want to now, collaborate with them. They want to learn more about the music. You go to YouTube videos, Nigerian artists are like, one of the top in the African continent. And if you go to like their comment section, you'll be seeing with love from, from Germany, with love from, Sweden, with love from there. And these are people who had originally not been exposed to their music, but just because of those collaborations or they stumble upon them. So technology plays a huge part. I want to be part of that, storytelling for the long term.
Nice. Well said. Education, economic opportunities, execution. You can call it the 3 E's pretty much. But yeah, good things, big things coming. Let me ask this, because, as we're talking about before the episode or earlier in the episode, like my largest audience is in India. Like I get more downloads in India than I get in the US for the last few months now. And of course, I get a bunch of downloads in different African countries as well. But if someone doesn't necessarily identify, even though I know, like, we're not closing off any race, or like you can also come participate in the event, how else can people participate? Are there opportunities for partnerships, for sponsorship, for other forms of collaboration that goes beyond attending the event? And how can, people who have like an idea or something reach out to you to kind of like talk about some of those opportunities?
Right, 100%. That's a great question. So for sure, we're definitely open to collaborating with as many people as possible. Obviously, it takes more than one hand to, build a village, and, it takes more than one person. United we stand. It's kind of like the whole parable, like the phrase of the whole, like, broomsticks. We had this as kids where, one broomstick is easy to break, but once you combine a bunch of broomsticks together, it's harder to break. So obviously, I'm always a proponent for collaborations and partnerships. And one of the ways to do that is they can hit me up via our official email, which is hello@pocevents.com. That's one way they can reach out to me to, and share whatever request or proposal that they might have in place. They can also call on, I think I have our number right here. I'm trying to think about what the business line is. But they can reach me via that email. They can also reach out to our Gmail as well, which is culturalpowerdigital@gmail.com. You can reach me via email. So if you shoot an email to us, I or any member of my team will definitely be able to respond, and like you can tell us what your proposal is, how you think we can make our event better, or if you're just looking to sponsor, you want to know our what our sponsorship rates are, or like how you can add value, or how we can work together. We are more than definitely open to and you can be big, you can be small, we don't care. Just let us know what your ideas are, how we can work together, and all of for that for sure.
Oh yeah, so that email again is hello@pocevent.com. And just to throw out some examples out there, some people might be saying, oh, collaboration is so ambiguous. Obviously, if you have a product that's, for this market, we went through the 3 different demographics earlier, can reach out to us and we'll sponsorship. If you have a media platform, we can never, get enough exposure to the mission for this organization. So even if you have one follower on Twitter who appreciate a tweet, a retweet, we can send you our media kit. We can send you, a bunch of banners, that resites for all different social media. If you have a podcast, if you have a platform, if you want to bring us on your Instagram live, whatever it is, like send the email to hello@pocevent.com. If you think we should hold a live event on your campus or something, like once COVID subsides, like whatever it is, just send an email and we'll be there for you. Let me ask this last question. Now, what do you think it is? Like, we grew up together, for Christ's sakes, and, we weren't really too keen on culture. No, we grew up in Nigeria. Maybe we took it for granted because we're in the middle of it. But what do you think it is that, 2 different brothers, like completely removed in a sense, but we still ended up having like a side project or an initiative that's centered on culture? Me with my podcast, you with this event, People of Culture. Even though we go back and forth and we're both kind of like members of each other's organization, like what do you think caused that spark in both of of us? Is it the last name that made us just suddenly awaken to the importance of culture, diversity, and things like that?
Right. I think it's what entrepreneurial genes. We the Iyares, we definitely do not want to just sit down and just, wait for things to happen. We are very proactive with like, starting something meaningful and something of value. We always want to, change the world or like look for ways where we can, leave our legacy and create impact in the world. So I think that's the reason why, we both have like separate like entities and things that we've created to like, you with your podcast, me with the events, business and stuff like that I'm working on. So I feel like, yeah, that's one thing. Secondly, I think it's just, I really, really began. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie. While I was in Nigeria, when I grew up, I spent, grew up and I spent part of my years in Nigeria. And when I was back there, I took a lot of things that I now cherish a lot for granted, like, especially of my culture. I was like, they would tell me, oh, you're from this village, you're from Edo State, your dad is Benin, you're Benin, this is your culture. You got your culture. People from your community are renowned for their craftsmanship, for sculpting, for, like if you watch Black Panther, the movie, like in the beginning scene where Killmonger was looking at in the museum, I was looking at a statue head, and it's called the Idia head, and that's from our culture, that's from Benin. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa! And I was watching in the movie theater, I'll never forget, and I was like, wow, we're on the big screen already. Like this is the Idia head. People are being, some people are going to research what that artifact, is from, where it's from, and learn more about it. And I'm like, wow, it's like the world is becoming a global village. So I feel like when I got here and I saw how a lot of people seemed like, I had a boss that I used to work for. He's like a mentor to me. His name is Ned, and he actually he was the VP of my former company. And he said, "Listen, I agree. Africa has this problem. You guys have issues with leadership. You guys have issues with this or that or whatever." He said, "But guess what? You at least." FA, you know where you came, you know where you come from. You can directly go back to your remote village and see where your great-grandmother, great-grandfather's house, hot was or whatever it is. Like you can definitely connect back that far. You can ask your dad about his dad and his dad's before him and whatever. Your direct village lineage. You can go to that place. If they ask you tomorrow, where are you from? I'm from Nigeria. What's your lineage? What's your culture? What is this? You can see a lot of things. Your background to the pretty much to the T, to the best of your knowledge. Whereas I just know I'm African American. I don't have any cultural identity. My dad was a slave. My great grandfather was a slave. Whatever it was, so I don't have any identity. I yearn for that identity. I yearn to be like, even if it's Guinea-Bissau, wherever, where am I from? I don't know. And even when I do find out where I'm from, eventually, like, what's the connection? I don't know. My name was pretty much Washington. Might have pretty much been a slave name, that because his name is Ned Washington. It's like maybe Washington might have pretty much been my slave owner's name that has just been passed down from generation to generation. But you don't have a slave owner name. You have this, you have that, and that really touched me. I was like, wow, this is really true. But we take it for granted because when you grow up and you're used to certain things, it's like it's normal. But when I come here and I see that people say that, I'm like, wow, I don't even know what I have. So I'm beginning to cherish that, and I'm beginning to look at that as an opportunity where we should really set this up, people of culture, and really educate people on the culture.
Nice. So identity is important, and just the way you are awakened by a mentor of yours, we're trying to awaken, people through things that are popular, like entertainment and things like that, and put the medicine in the candy kind of thing. Well, it's been fun, we'll definitely have you back on the podcast where we can just talk shit as brothers. But I thought it was important for me to make this interview as professional as possible so we can communicate with all seriousness what we're trying to achieve with this event. Before we wrap up the episode, can you please again talk about what the event is about, the date, the time, how people can connect, email, social media, hashtags, social security numbers, whatever it is?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be revealing our social security number now. I don't know, you might have a few scammers out there that are looking for podcasts like this to steal information. But on a serious note, yeah, thanks for asking that. So the event is, you can go on our website to learn more about what we do, and that is on POCevents.com, POCevents.com, one word, and you can go and learn about what we do, why we started this. You'll see my profile on that website. You'll see search profile on that website. You can read about it and other members of our team and why we started what we started. So the event again is February 27th. So hopefully to those listening to this recording before February 27th, kindly register and join and come experience greatness. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. So kindly tune in before that time to, or during that time time to see what we're about and watch all the great performances we have at the show. What else am I missing? Oh, social media handles. Kindly follow on Instagram, follow at Culture Power _TV. I believe that's it. Yeah, so just follow at Culture Power _TV or Culture _Power TV, I think it is. So if you go there, you can check out our Instagram, see what we're about, and follow us, and just get to see all the great imagery that we have out there. For Twitter, it's going to be Culture Power TV _. Then for Facebook, it's just culture-power.com, something like that. But on all platforms, if you search on the search bar Culture Power TV, you should see it, and you can follow and learn about what we do and what we're about and stuff like that. So the brand itself, we're pushing us. So we have a startup digital company that we're pushing, and it's called Culture Power TV. So People of Culture is sort of, it's an entity on its own, but it's also kind of like integrated apart with our Culture Power TV initiative, where it's part of what we do. Is an event we're trying to host every year. So now we're even going to take it beyond just once a year, because with People of Culture, we host it every year. The first event, I didn't even speak to that, but the first event we had it at the prestigious DuSable Museum in Chicago. If you're from a Chicago native or you've traveled to Chicago before, pretty much have heard of the DuSable Museum. It's a pretty big deal. And that's where we had our first event in 2018. And so the second event, obviously, because of the pandemic, we're making it a live stream event. And hopefully in the future, we can have more in-person events. I want to have it in like different cities across the US, and hopefully take it beyond the US to Africa, like places like Nigeria, Ghana, and host events over there too as well. So that's what we want to do and achieve as well. So kindly follow us, support us. Like I said, you can register for your tickets by visiting pocevent.com. Get your tickets. You can even register for free if you don't want to pay to support. We will obviously love support. And another thing I even forgot to mention was this year for this event, we're also partnering with the Leap of Dance Academy. And so for those who that name might not ring a bell to people, but if you recall, there was a viral video that was on Instagram a couple of months back about a boy dancing in the rain. He was dancing ballet in the rain. It was from Nigeria. Some people might remember that video. It was a young boy. I can't recall how old he was, but he was dancing ballet in the rain. And that video went viral. Like US celebrities were posting about it. All the major big platforms were talking about it. Their story, the not-for-profit story, got featured on Vogue, Elle, some of the top publications, Essence, some of the top publications. That story appears. So we are happy to be partnering with not-for-profit. And this is another way where we create impact and give back. So we partnered with them, and for every ticket we sell for this event, we'll be making a meaningful contribution. A portion of that ticket sales will be going to the not-for-profit to support children in Nigeria who are learning ballet dance. So that's another reason why you might want to be motivated to purchase the tickets and support us, because obviously it's for a good cause. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
All right, guys, you've heard it all. Come here, be entertained, be educated, and also give back at the same time. POCevent.com, February 27th, 6 p.m. Central Time, hashtag POC 2021. I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. As usual, you can follow Culture Class Podcast on all social media platforms. We also have a bunch of People of Culture promotions on our social media pages and our website. Let us know what you think, and see you at POC 2021.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it. I'll definitely tell Mom that this interview went well and you did good.
Right.